My 24F boyfriend, 26M, told me women add no value to a man's life. Me and my boyfriend at the time were having a discussion. Nothing too serious. I was telling him a story about these people that we know who are in a relationship. Without getting too long, eventually we ended up speaking about the value of the woman in the man's life. I was basically saying we can't know for sure why the man keeps the woman around, but it must be because she brings some value to his life. That's when he started getting a bit apprehensive and began saying things like, what value does a woman bring to a man? He started saying things along the line of, normally you can see the value a man brings to a woman, only materialistic, but women don't bring the same. At this point I was a bit bewildered by the conversation, but still tried to end it amicably by saying value isn't only materialistic, and maybe he's only viewing it in a tangible sense again. I was, in delusion, praying and hoping he was referring to the specific situation we were talking about. But then he made it personal by asking me verbatim what value I bring to his life. I told him that was a question only he could answer, and he said he doesn't see it and he doesn't know. And he continued to ask me to tell him the value I brought. I told him I'm not answering that, and that I won't allow him to belittle me or make me feel less than. I then asked him why he wants to settle down and marry me if I had no value to his life. I then told him since I had no value he'll just leave, and he got upset at me and told me I wasted his time. Anyways, I broke things off with him, but the complication is I'm pregnant right now, and so my emotions are a mess. He was also inebriated last night, so I'm not sure if it's something I should be open to talking about if he reaches back out to me, or if I should just fully close the door and accept it and be a single mother, as painful as that reality is. You're carrying his child, and he's asking you to tell him what value you bring to his life? That's insane. You should really determine if it's early enough to have another option rather than saddling yourself for the next 18+ years to a guy who thinks women are worthless. If you have a daughter, do you want her to think she has no value? If you have a son, do you want him to think women have no value? Do not get back with this man. He sounds like a red-pilled right-wing idiot. American F/42 My husband is Ghanaian M/46. I'm having a hard time accepting my husband doesn't want me to cook for him. I'm an American F/42 My husband is Ghanaian M/46. We dated for 3 years, been married for 2. My husband likes to cook and is a good cook. He likes his local food and rarely eats at restaurants or fast food. He'd rather wait until he gets home to have his local food. When he cooks, it's not only for himself, but for me and anyone else in the house that would like to eat it. It's important to him that we eat together, so when he cooks he makes my plate, and we eat. Even if I'm not feeling particularly hungry, I still sit with him and eat. My husband is a truck driver, so he makes his local food to last while he's out. When he comes home he's hungry for fresh, cooked local food. I'd like to prepare his traditional dishes, but he rejects the offer and says he'll do it. I know he wants to come home to a cooked meal. He said as much plenty of times, but he literally won't eat it if I cook it. I don't want to waste food, which I've done, by cooking his food only for him to not eat it. It's not because it doesn't taste right, but because he doesn't have a taste for it. The thing is, I'm a good cook, and I have experience cooking food from different cultures, and so it's not like I can't handle the challenge. Before I got pregnant with our son, I made some of his foods that he began to request, even told me they're better than his. He would go back for seconds and eat leftovers, so I started sending him out on the truck with the food I cooked. After I got far along in pregnancy, he didn't want me to cook for him because of my condition when he could cook for himself. I was grateful for that. Now our baby is 5 months old, and I'm ready to cook elaborate meals again, but he wants none of it. He told me when I go to Ghana and learn from his people then I can cook for him because it's too complicated. WTH? When he's really hungry and doesn't feel like cooking he'll drive about an hour away to eat food his friend's Ghanaian wife cooks. This hurts, and it doesn't make sense to me. When I asked him what's the difference if I cook it, and it tastes right, he says she's Ghanaian, so she knows how to cook it. When I ask him what's the difference from me going on YouTube and learning from those Ghanaian women how to cook the food, if it's prepared properly, to me learning from his people, he says the food is too complicated. He told me to stick to cooking my foods, which he won't eat because it's not Ghanaian, and he'll cook his food, and I can join him if I want to. So the other night I did as he suggested. I cooked and chose not to eat his food because I really like what I cooked, but then he got annoyed when I didn't eat his food with him. Sometimes for breakfast he'll ask for me to cook a specific thing, but this is starting to make me feel like a servant waiting on an order instead of lovingly cooking for my husband, which is what I would enjoy doing. This is not what we discussed before we got married, and it's not what our dating life was like. I think I would be okay with adjusting to this new dynamic if he didn't make comments about him being tired of cooking and how he can't wait for me to cook his food after go learn from his people. This feels like a no-win situation to me. Frankly, I don't know if I can adjust to this. I actually enjoy taking care of those I love around me, and cooking is one of those things. It feels like an important part, to me, of our marriage took a hit after an argument about this yesterday, when he again insisted I don't cook for him. I guess it finally sunk in that he's not going to change his mind. I'm hurt, angry, and disillusioned. Why would he eat it when you cook before having a baby, but it's not good enough now? Why do you have to go to Ghana to learn to cook when his friend's wife is an hour away? Maybe she can give you a lesson or two, even over the phone. He thinks you're trapped now you're married and have a baby, so the mask is slipping and his true colors are coming out. Don't go to Ghana. Don't take your baby to Ghana. My senior dad, 73M, is unemployed, broke, and just got served an eviction notice. I, 30F, don't know how to help, and I feel completely overwhelmed. Hey all. I'm not really sure how to start this, but I'm hoping for some outside advice, or even just perspective on what to do about my dad. Too long did not read. My senior dad is unemployed, broke, and just got served an eviction notice. I don't know how to help, and I feel completely overwhelmed. I, 30F, am going through a rough patch with my dad, 73M, and the stress is really getting to me. I'll try to be as coherent as possible. Sorry in advance if this is long. But please go easy on me if it's all over the place. I'm desperate and not sure what to do. My dad has always been incredibly irresponsible with money, and it feels like he's almost willfully blind to his reality. I love him dearly. He was a wonderful dad when I was young, but he has never saved, never held a stable job for long, and he spends money like someone who's never had to worry about it. After my parents divorced about 20 years ago, he had to sell our house and dissolve his business. He ended up working as a heavy equipment operator for about 8 years for a pretty huge organization. The pay wasn't amazing, but at least things were stable. We didn't have luxuries, but we were okay. Then in 2015, when I was 19, he suddenly quit that job to start up his old business again. He walked away from stability, benefits, a pension, everything to chase the dream of being his own boss. Shockingly, the first couple of years were amazing financially. He made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But instead of saving or buying a home, he just blew it. Cars, girlfriends, the casino, a super expensive rental house, just spending like the good times would last forever and not saving a penny. By 2018 his business started slowing down, but he refused to adjust his lifestyle or spending habits. I pleaded with him to save money during months that his business was doing well, but he never did. Then COVID hit in 2020, and everything basically collapsed. He started falling behind on rent and bills constantly. By 2024, he was chronically 2 to 3 months behind and only catching up when a big contract came in. It was a cycle he never broke. I begged him to downsize from the $4,000 per month 3,500 square foot house, especially since it was just him and my brother by then, but he flat out refused because he didn't want to have to deal with the hassle of moving. Meanwhile, I graduated university in 2023, got a good job, moved in with my boyfriend, and started my own adult life. My brother, 23M, still lives with my dad. He was expelled from high school, failed his first year of trade school twice, got a DUI a couple years back, and has never had a job. He doesn't contribute to anything financially. And just to clear it up, no, he is not disabled in any way. He's just incredibly lazy and unmotivated. By 2025, my dad was so broke he was asking me for money for food and gas. I helped. I've given him around $4,500 total, but I'm not exactly rolling in cash. He's borrowed around $20,000 from friends too, which he'll never be able to pay back. His business is barely functioning, the work is physically grueling, and it's clear to me that he's wearing down. He has no savings, no retirement plan, nothing. It terrifies me, because I don't know what's going to happen when he simply can't do this type of work anymore. And now the breaking point. Over the weekend my dad and his landlord got into a fight, and he's now facing eviction. I feel responsible because he was such a good dad when I was little, and I love him, but at the same time, I'm trying so hard to build my own future. I want to buy a house, travel, replace my old car, have a safety net, all the normal things. I put myself through university without any help and have worked so hard for the stability, I'm finally getting. I don't want my life to go off the rails because of choices they made. When I talked to my brother about the situation a few months back, he basically shrugged and said he didn't care if they lost the house and that he'd be making $400,000 in his trade soon. Meanwhile, he's failed the first year twice and still isn't working. My dad keeps coming to me every couple weeks for money. Even my mom, who has every right to wash her hands of this, has been trying to find subsidies or cheaper rentals for him, and he just gets defensive and mean whenever she brings anything up. I just feel stuck, and guilty, and frustrated, and tired. So I guess what I'm looking for is advice on two things. 1. Am I actually responsible for helping him fix this? 2. Is there a solution that I'm just not seeing? I have some investments, not a ton, but enough that it could make a difference, and I could pull it all out to help him get a rental or cover his bills for a bit. But that would drain the emergency/retirement savings I've spent 10 years building. And at best, it might help for a year before we're right back in the same situation. Or do I finally give him tough love and say, if neither of you will get jobs, I can't save you? I already feel like I've enabled them by giving him $4,500 this past year. I naively thought maybe business would pick up or my brother would get his act together. This whole thing is also stressing out my relationship. My boyfriend is worried my dad and brother will try to move into his house, which is physically too small. And I would never put him in that position because it's not fair to him. I think he still feels pressure because he loves me and wants to help, but now he's stressed too, and that's the last thing I want. Anyway, apologies for the length of the post, but thank you to anyone who stuck through it. I just feel lost, guilty, and overwhelmed. I'm hoping someone here has a perspective I haven't considered, or can at least reassure me that I'm not an awful person for not wanting to wipe out my savings at 30. We're in Alberta, so if anyone knows of provincial low-income programs he might qualify for, I'd really appreciate any leads. Thanks for reading. Has he filed for Social Security? I'm sorry, uneasy face. There is no easy answer for this. A good place to start learning about boundaries in tough situations like this is at coda.org. They have support meetings every day. You owe him nothing. I guarantee that if you don't have strong boundaries, they will just break you and move on to someone else and not feel bad. I, 26M, want to have my kids go to public, but my wife, 26F, wants to homeschool. How should we talk about it? I, M26, and my wife, F26, are about to have our first kid. We have been together for 5 years now, and we are trying to figure out schooling. Now it gets real early to be thinking about it, but we wanted to figure out each other's views on education. We both grew up going to public school, and we had conversations about each other's experiences, not going in detail, but I had a better time than she did, education-wise and overall time, I guess. I graduated with a 2.2, and she graduated with a 3.3, so even though she had a worse time, she did way better than me. But anyways, she brought up homeschooling, and I immediately said no. Not from an education standpoint, cause there's pros and cons, but we don't have the time to do it. We both are military, and if any of you know how that is, when you have your time off you want to relax. She's kinda is insisting I break free from society's views on education and just do homeschooling. I'm not trying to get this figured out now cause we have 5 years to figure this out, but I want to have a better understanding of what needs to be talked about, what research I should do and stuff like that. I'm not good at giving all the details, and this is my first time doing this, but I want a better understanding of what to talk about. Breaking free from society's views on education leads me to believe she is wildly unqualified to homeschool. Just have to ask, is it because she doesn't want to vaccinate? I would fight to have your kids go to public school, but also take into account the kid isn't even here yet. You guys have no idea what it's like to have a kid. Whatever both, if you guys think RN will likely change.